You don't feel rich at $20,000. No one congratulates you. There's no visible upgrade in your lifestyle. In fact, on the surface, nothing changes. But underneath, everything does. Because somewhere between $0 and $20,000, you quietly cross an invisible line most people never notice. And once you cross it, the rules start to change. For most people, money is survival. It comes in and it goes out. Rent, food, transport, emergencies. There's no buffer, no margin, no room for mistakes. So every decision feels urgent. Every problem feels expensive. But $20,000 changes the nature of the game. Not because it's a huge amount, but because it's enough to break.
That's 10 months where a job loss isn't immediate panic. 10 months where a bad decision isn't permanent damage. And that changes how you think. You stop asking, can I afford this today? And start asking, is this a good decision long term? That shift is subtle, but powerful. Here's where it gets interesting. Most people think wealth is about how much you earn. But the real turning point is how much pressure you're under. At $0 savings, pressure is constant. At $20,000, pressure starts to ease. And when pressure drops, your decisions improve. You negotiate better. You walk away from bad deals. You take calculated risks. Not reckless ones, smart ones. Because now, failure doesn't mean collapse. It just means adjustment. But there's a second layer most people miss. Once you hit $20,000, money starts behaving differently. Before this point, every dollar you earn is already spent in your mind. It has a job, usually survival. After this point, some of your money becomes idle. And idle money can be deployed. That's when you start thinking about investing, not as a gamble, but as a tool. Even modest returns begin to matter. At 7% annually, $20,000 generates $1,400 a year. That's not life-changing, but it's the first time your money starts contributing instead of just sitting there. And more importantly, it introduces a new concept. Money can work without you. Now, zoom out. This is where the gap between people quietly widens. Below $20,000, your income is your engine. Above it, your capital starts becoming a second engine. At first, it's weak, almost irrelevant. But over time, it compounds. And compounding doesn't feel dramatic in the beginning. It feels slow, almost disappointing. Until suddenly, it isn't. But here's the uncomfortable part. Saving $20,000 is hard. Not because of math, but because of behavior. It requires consistency when there's no visible reward, discipline when progress feels invisible. Most people quit before they get there. Because before $20,000, the system feels unfair. You save and life interrupts. An emergency hits. The balance drops. You start again. It feels like running on a treadmill. And, in a way, it is. Because below a certain threshold, you're fighting instability itself. But once you cross it, something else happens. You become harder to control. That might sound dramatic, but think about it. If you can survive months without income, you're less dependent on any single paycheck. That means you can leave toxic work environments. You can say no to bad opportunities. You can wait for better options. And in a system where most people can't afford to wait, that's power. Quiet power, but real. This is why $20,000 feels different. not because it makes you rich, but because it reduces desperation. And desperation is expensive. It leads to rushed decisions, high-interest debt, bad contracts, missed opportunities. Remove desperation, and your financial life becomes more strategic.
Now, let's address the illusion. From the outside, $20,000 doesn't look impressive. In a world of millionaires and billionaires, it feels small. But that comparison misses the point. The biggest financial shift doesn't happen when you become wealthy. It happens when you become stable. Because stability is what allows growth. Without it, every step forward is fragile. With it, progress starts to stack. And there's one more shift, a psychological one. Before $20,000, money feels scarce. After it, money starts to feel manageable. Not abundant, not unlimited, but understandable. You begin to see patterns, how fast you can save, how quickly things grow, how small decisions compound over time. Finance stops feeling chaotic and starts feeling predictable.